Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities. Joining us from his home studio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Luther Dupree Jr., and to my right, of course, smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Well, we had a nice card in Warren, Ohio, promoted by the legend Don King, who in my mind adds even more to it just by saying his name is attached to this event. So we're going to start off with the heavyweight fight first, and that was Trevor Bryan, who is the WBA, I guess, regular champion, something like that. He is now 22-0-15 knockouts. He defeated Jonathan Guidry, as Jim said, the guy who was on a boat collecting shrimp from Louisiana, who is now 17-1-2 with 10 knockouts, and he won by a split decision, though. So, Luther, your thoughts, first of all, on the fight, and did you expect more out of Trevor Bryan, Luther?
Listen, man, that fight was a very unimpressive victory by Trevor Bryan. Listen, man, in my younger days, I used to watch a group called the Fat Boys. And that's what I saw in that ring. The only one that was missing was the human beatbox.
Oh, there you go.
Guys just flopped around the ring. You know, Trevor Bryan, he should have got this guy out of there. If you're a WBA champion, you want to fight the Anthony Joshuas or the Tyson Furies, you got to get C-level competition out of there, and he didn't do it. He came in there, his belly was hanging over his belt. Disgusting fight, no excitement. You know, the crowd never got excited during the whole fight. Very, very, very basic. He has no chance against any of the top 10, maybe 15 heavyweights.
Luther, I agree with everything you said. Jim, the cards were 118-109 for Bryan, 116-111 for Bryan, and 115-112 for Bryan. Your thoughts on those numbers and your thoughts on the fight?
Well, it was a split decision. I had the challenger winning the fight, but they didn't want to take the title. Listen, Bryan's a slob. He has no respect for his world championship, but he can. I have to disagree with Luther. He can fight. He got a great jab. I don't know why he didn't throw the right hand pretty much all fight. You know, he beat Severn. Severn's a very good fighter. He beat him. So he's going to be competitive. I really was impressed with Jonathan. It was his first time in his career. He came in about 246. He's only about 5'9", 5'10". They got him listed at 5'11". But I liked his skills. I like to see his next fight, him coming in around 235. I liked he got a very educated left hand. He's going to make some noise in the heavyweight division now that he has the money to do it full time. But I'm very disappointed in Don King for having a fighter that has no respect for the sweet science.
You know, Luther made a lot of points, and something I agree with 1,000% as far as Bryan should have basically got rid of him quick. Okay, you are the WBA regular and all that kind of stuff. So let me ask you this: was it the fact that? And I'll ask you this, Luther, as well. Was it the fact that, you know how they say styles make fights? Maybe it was the wrong style for him, or maybe Bryant wasn't as good as we think, or is Guidry better than we think? So those three choices.
Well, he's undefeated, number one. This is a guy that really can fight, man. You know, Trevor's lucky he didn't get knocked out. Jonathan right now didn't bring a big punch into this card. I think that he'll be a heavier, bigger puncher in future fights. I tell you what, this guy, don't be surprised if he makes some noise during his career in the heavyweight division. I like the way he's one of the best fighters I've ever seen fighting off the ropes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
and don't forget now, he only heard about this fight, I think, 5 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Luther, your thoughts? Luther, your thoughts on? I did predict.
You just said anything.
I did predict an upset here. I did like the story. I saw some highlights of him. He did take the fight on short notice. Jim hit it on the head. Bryan does have some skills. I don't mean top 5 skills. But I'll ask you the question, Luther. Was it the fact that maybe styles make fights and it just wasn't suited to Bryan? Bryan maybe just isn't that good? Or maybe Guidry is better than what people think?
No, Trevor Bryan's not that good. Very basic, slow jab, not a lot of power. You know, he doesn't commit to getting his body in shape. No, he's a C-level fighter at this point because he doesn't respect the sport, like Jim said.
Right.
That's one of the few things I agree with. He should have got that guy out of here. That guy took it on 5 weeks' notice, 5 days' notice. He should have got him out of there. He doesn't have the power or the dedication to be a player in the sport. He's talking about going over to the UK and fighting Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. Please, he's not ready. He couldn't beat the top 20 guys over here in the United States. No, get him out of there. It'll look better. I thought they were getting rid of all those WBA secondary belts.
Right.
Take his.
Right. You know what, though, Jim and Luther, and to our fans, I don't understand. We've talked about this before. If your baseball team or your tennis or golf, not even football because you can get the hell knocked out of you, but in boxing especially, you don't take somebody lightly. And Jim says this 1,000 times. Anybody 220 plus, 230, they can hurt you. Luther, if he wins, and Jim, if Brian wins this fight impressively, in impressive fashion, now he's going to be talked about as maybe a top 7 guy, because it's not exactly the hardest, despite what Jim says, it's not the hardest top 10 to break, Luther. I'm sure you'll agree. Now, I don't know how much he made. If Guidry made 70,000, just say this guy made 200. I don't think he made 200. Say 100 and a half. 100 and a half.
This wasn't even the main event.
Right, okay, yeah. So, but Luther...
So he didn't make that much money,
okay.
all right?
But if you win and you look impressive...
A first-round knockout like Tyson, and
right.
Nobody would have been talking about him.
Right.
He's not that impressive. He doesn't look the part. He doesn't play the part. No, it doesn't matter what he would have done. Nobody's respecting that belt. Nobody's respecting him because he doesn't take it seriously, and he's not a factor at the heavyweight division.
Smoking Jim, do you think he has a chance if he says, you know what, I could have done better. I should have done better. I'm going to turn it up my next fights. Do you think he has the ability to do so?
You talking about Jonathan or the
No, I'm sorry. Trevor Bryan.
Well,
because you do think Guidry has a chance to do something.
Well, Guidry broke my top 35.
Luther.
He's broke my top 35, man.
He's got it, Luther. You don't see it, brother.
He's on the list. Hey, listen, talent is talent, man. Listen, you can't make a guy have the heart and courage. It's like LeBron James always lies and says that it's not what you do when people are watching, it's what you do when people are not watching. You can't make Trevor Bryan, be a warrior like Rocky Marciano or some of these guys. That really
But somebody's hitting you, Jim.
But you got to be able to train. This guy got a great jab. I tell you what, other than Larry Holmes and a couple other guys, there's not many guys that got a better jab than Trevor. Trevor got a great jab,
Dude,
man.
what were you smoking this morning,
Have
Jim?
you watched his fights? Have you watched his fights in the past? He got a great jab, and I don't know why he doesn't throw that right hand. He really twists on that right hand, man. He didn't throw it for some reason, but I think coming in at 268 pounds is a shame, especially, listen, this guy got some mandatory fights coming up. He's being talked about in big-time circles. But, again...
Who is?
As far as getting big-time... I think he's a mandatory for Usyk or one of those guys. But all I can say is this. All I can say is this. This is the deepest era in heavyweight division.
All right.
Luther. I got 20 or 30 guys that can beat
Luther, let me ask you a question.
We've heard it.
Luther, let me ask you a question, because you were on the same page about Trevor Bryan. Do you think maybe, and I'm going to ask Jim too, do you think maybe, because he didn't do so well, and he is with Don King, and he does have a WBA, whatever, do you think now he's going to be more attractive to an upper tier fighter because they know that they can beat him, and it might be a night off?
Listen, when Don King is up there talking trash about you needed to do better after the fight,
Right.
Nobody's looking at this guy, man. He's easy pickings for anybody. Maybe Daniel Dubois will go and take his belt. That's about all he can hope for. This guy has no future at the heavyweight division.
Smoking Jim, I'm going to ask you. You said Guidry has a chance to do something, right? Make some noise. Are you talking about making noise like a Chuck Wepner, a guy like that who is, you're going to beat him, but he's going to, I'm not going to say Jerry Corey by no means, but where do you put him? Into the Jerry Corey almost contender, or a contender, or a Chuck Wepner who's going to give you a run for your money?
Well, you got to fear the beard. And this guy got natural skills, man. You got to realize this is a guy that never really had an opportunity
Right, I'm with
to
you.
be a full-time fighter. He's short, but he don't fight like a short man. He throws those hooks. His left hand. He got a very educated left hand. He even throws some shovel hooks. You don't see those that often. I really like this guy. He got a lot of heart. I wish he had a little bit more pop on his punch. Maybe he could get that. Maybe it was a little arm where I had him winning the heavyweight championship of the world. I thought he got robbed, but don't count out Trevor Bryant. Like I said, if you go back and watch that Sylvain fight,
Count it out.
but I tell you what, you can never count out a heavyweight, even at almost 270 pounds, with the belly going over his belt, like Luther said, but he still went the distance. He still was able to go 12 good rounds. So you can't count
Yeah, because that guy
him
wasn't
out.
going to the body enough, man. If
Right.
Gidry was going to the body a little more, Trevor Bryant didn't train for this fight. That's as fat as I've ever seen him in a match.
Luther, so let me ask you this, Luth. Do you think if both, now again, Gidry was a late replacement. Okay, they called him up. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll fight. Okay, now, but let's say that both of them now are maybe more of a known commodity. Number one. Number two.
On the who watched that fight?
But Luth, okay, now let me ask you this: if both of them, if both of them say, you know what, I have to, because to Jim's point, maybe if Gidry's in better shape, that punch would have been a little more crisp, right? Because you do lose some power if you're tired. So if they both train and they both come in next time under the weight that they're in better shape, do you think, Luther, that either one of them has a chance to, I didn't say win the belt because I think it's a different ball game, different world. Do you think they have a chance to make some noise in the division?
Absolutely not. You couldn't pay me to watch that slop fest again. No.
All right.
No, that'll never happen again. I don't think either one is dedicated enough to the sport to make any noise. No.
Smoking Jim.
No chance.
Well, Luther will not give Jonathan the credit he's due. This is a guy that came off a shrimp boat. You
watch too much Forrest Gump, Jim.
He has
Come on,
money
man.
now to train. He's going to get better. They say when you become a champion, even Boom Boom Mancini said that you get 40% better.
Well, he didn't become a champion, though.
This guy's not a champion, but now he can train full time. So I
Because he
believe
got
that 40%.
$70,000, Jim.
70,000.
70,000 when you was only getting a penny a shrimp.
Well, let's put it this way, Luther. He can't quit the boat just yet, and he can't buy a boat just yet. Okay, but I did think Gidry. I did call for an upset because I liked the story and I did see some skills there, and I just didn't think Brian was going to take him seriously. And again, it was a hell of a lot. I mean, how many people really thought it was going to be a split decision? I think everybody thought, except for me, that it was going to be a blowout. But I'm hoping for the sake of boxing, because I'll ask this question a lot, Luther, and I'm going to ask you. Does the heavyweight division now, has it gone up a little bit more because we have two guys to talk about, Gidry and Bryant, or did it sink or did it stay the same?
No, listen, nobody's talking about these two guys, man. They went in there flobbing around. No, if anything, it set the heavyweight division back watching these two. No, it didn't it didn't move it up at all. No.
Smoking Jim.
Well, like I said, this is the deepest era I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. Maybe in Jack Johnson and Dempsey's days, it might have been a little bit deeper. Listen, this guy has a belt. All these hungry lions down here on my list, which is 35
guys
deep,
with a belt.
those guys are looking to get a belt. So Trevor has a
Easy
target.
pickings.
Trevor has a target on his belt. Back, I always said this.
On his belly. You got to talk about his belly, Jim.
Hey, I always said this, man. You can have even in the NFL, you can have a bunch of receivers that know they're never going to get any play time because there's 3-4 guys ahead of them. Then all of a sudden, those 3-4 guys go in free agency, and all those other guys who are backup gets better because in the offseason, they know they got an opportunity to come to training camp and get a starting job. Everybody in this heavyweight division knows that they have an opportunity to win a belt over Trevor Bryan, and he got a big X on his back.
Well, I like to see them make some noise, especially Guidry, because again, I repeat, I like the story.
Does he got a belly ring? I couldn't tell.
He's going to get one now. But I think, Luther, again, you say it all the time, there's Pittsburgh good and there's real good. I don't see these guys making any noise in the top 7. And then I think Bryan is supposed to fight maybe. There's a rumor about Daniel Dubois. I'm not sure.
Right,
but
yeah. Right. Okay. That was a rumor.
Now the next fight, Luther and I are going to get into a little bit because my boy Ilongo Mukabu, who is now 29-2 and 25 knockouts, beat a very tough game, skilled Thabiso Mchunu, who's now 23-6 and 13. That's the second time they fought. And Mukabu beat him the first time with an 11th round stoppage.
Right.
Yeah. Luther, your thoughts on the fight and, well, we'll get to Mukabu in a second, but your thoughts on the fight.
Well, the fight, I didn't think Mukabu was hired in a C-level fight. And after watching him fight live, I thought he lost the fight. And he's even worse than I thought.
Are you serious? You didn't think he was better?
Oh, no. I didn't see the knockout power you claimed he had. I thought he lost the fight. I thought Mabusi, the challenger, the African challenger, what is it, Matibi? Mchunu. The M's get me messed up.
Right.
I thought he won the fight, and I thought Don King did his magic, and Mukabu, who was pretty boo-boo, lost that fight. He was getting hit with hooks, going to the body. He went in there, he looked very old and slow. All that explosiveness that we showed in the highlights, it was gone, And he performed so bad, Canelo's no longer looking his way because it's clear it was a cherry pick if he fought him. So now it looks like we may get a Charlo Canelo because Mukabu has no chance of fighting Canelo after that pitiful performance.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second, but Jim, your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I would not rule it out for one of the fights of the year.
It was a good fight. It was solid.
You didn't watch the fight. You didn't watch that fight.
You had two outstanding styles. The one African's a counterpuncher, the challenger, and the other African took it to him. I thought that Mukabu, I thought he won the fight. I thought he pressed the action, but I really was impressed with the counterpunching ability of the opponent. It was very good. I would not be sad to see a trilogy here.
Hey, you might.
Yeah.
Because there's a little rivalry there. You see, he came to congratulate him and he pushed him away.
Yeah.
There's some angst there.
I've really enjoyed the fight.
Luther, so all kidding aside, now I think that he's not a bad fighter. I'm not saying he's good. I'm not saying he's going to beat Canelo. I'm just thinking when we're in this studio and after that fight, if that happens, we're going to say he gave Canelo a hell of a lot more than we thought. Or do you think that at all? I was thinking about you during the fight. You think Mukabu has a chance?
If that fight happens, I'm going to say Canelo with another cherry pick because he's going to spark Mukabu out in 4 rounds or less. That guy doesn't have it. He's old. He's older. What they have him? They don't even have his age listed.
No.
They had age 33. They had a question mark for Mukabu's age. Nobody knows how old he is. Matter of fact, he's older than Luis Ortiz. I'd say he's about 55, not 45. No chance that he has against Canelo. Get him out of here.
Jim, now you're a Canelo expert, Canelo fan. If they fought,
you don't even want it, Jim.
Well,
your thoughts?
Well,
would he give him a battle?
We'll put it this way. If Canelo won the Cruiserweight Championship, it would be the biggest upset since Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson.
Favorite.
I mean, when you come up, you're talking about another 2 weight classes. He got to go up. Listen, I'm all for Canelo. I think he can win the fight. But, man, you got to give credit where credit is due. If he wins the Cruiserweight Championship of the world, that is one of the greatest achievements in professional sports.
He'd be favored that fight. He'd be favored to knock out Mukabu.
Luther, let me ask you a question, Luther. And I understand what Jim's saying. But let me ask you this. If Roy Jones Jr., if he would have beaten Lennox Lewis or Evander Holyfield instead of John Ruiz, would he have gotten more praise and glory fighting one of those guys or beating John Ruiz?
Yeah, of course. He beat a legend. He
Right.
beat the worst. You know, when he beat John Reeves, he beat the worst heavyweight champion of that time.
Right. So
and
what I'm trying to
is the worst cruiserweight champion of this time. So he wouldn't get a lot of credit from
So
me.
with Jim, I do agree, Jim. I agree with Jim as far as him winning the cruiserweight belt is a nice thing, but let's not go crazy.
He's the worst cruiserweight champion.
But let's not go crazy.
Despite this past weekend.
Right, let's not go crazy and say it would be like a shock. They're going to put it on Entertainment Tonight or ESPN and say whenever they have the upsets, they talk about NC State versus Houston, Buster Douglas versus Tyson, and Canelo against Makabu. It ain't going to be that level.
Why is Luther knocking this African during Black History Month? Come on, Luke, give the brother a little credit.
I call it the way it is, Jim.
I'm just saying,
he's a C-level fighter with not a lot of skill.
I just think the style, the awkward look. He doesn't have great feet. Okay, I know that.
He doesn't have great feet. He has old knees. He has slow hands, and I question his chin. What is there to like about him?
And he has a world championship. That's what we're after, world championship.
And he should have lost it this weekend if Don King didn't cook the books. Everybody knows he lost that fight.
I just think something in me. I'm seeing the style. He's a little awkward. He's not going to be easy unless Canelo just decides to go to the body first. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm thinking it's going to be a better fight than people think.
I agree.
No, and this is why I'm the only one with a perfect record, and you guys have at least 2 losses since we've been doing these predictions this year. Because there's no way he's going to make that a competitive fight. Canelo runs through that African.
Was Wilder last year? That was last year. Okay, I was wondering.
Back in November. Jim, you can't even
I can't remember.
It's also the year 2022, okay?
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to talk about I don't know if it's, I thought it was signed, but it's not signed just yet, and that's the Tyson Fury, Dillian White fight, WBC Championship, right back with the boxing authorities. All right, welcome back to the Boxing Authorities. A heavyweight fight that keeps getting talked about. I thought it was signed, but it isn't yet. And that is the Tyson Fury, Dillian White fight. And originally, White wanted more money. Well, it seems like he got it, okay? It's a record $41 million purse, Luther Dupree Jr. Tyson Fury is getting $32.8, and Dillian White is getting $8.2, which is I think it is without question the highest that White has ever been offered or receiving, but he still hasn't signed it. Tyson Fury said, are you hiding? You want to be a champ. You got what you want. You got more money, but you haven't signed anything. The WBC has ordered this has to be signed by February 21st, so it takes place late April. Luther, your thoughts on this?
Right. Yeah, listen, man. You know, this is your favorite. I brought a pocket watch for you guys.
Uh-oh.
You guys love this thing. When we start talking about money, I'm going to start bringing out the pocket watch on you guys. Listen, man. Dillian White, I'm so sick and tired of this man whining. He got everything he wanted. $8 million is his highest payday. No, I don't think Tyson Fury's worth $32 million, but he got it. Dillian White beat him, and then maybe you can get the lion's share of the of the price next time. If he doesn't fight, he's a ducker. I don't want to hear him. I want him just to go away. But it's the PED championship. I want to see it happen. Dillian White, shut up, sign the contract, and get the victory. You've been crying about the WBC 300 days, 600 days. Well, you got a couple days to sign the contract, and you can go get that belt for $8 million. You know, it's a shame. You know, this is holding up the heavyweight division. You know, it doesn't have the luster now that Deontay Wilder. We don't know when he's coming back. These guys are playing around. When is AJ and Usyk? The heavyweight division was on fire. It's starting to stagnate a little bit. Dillian White needs to sign it.
I agree with you, Luther. And Jim, you know, Larry Holmes, I think, took a little less money when he fought Cooney. Mayweather has taken less money. Sugar Ray has taken less money. Hearns has taken less money. Dillian White, you know, this is the biggest purse he's ever had, and he gets a shot to fight the hottest heavyweight in the world to win the championship. What do you think about this? I mean, if I was his management team, I'd say, go.
Well, they're taking less money, but they've never taken less than 30%. This is only about 25%. I don't blame Dillian White. You know, this is not. I don't worship gold. he's deserving of this is fool's money. This is wild. This is what Wilder got for his last fight. Fool's money. Listen, $8 million. It may be the highest payday, but it's not 30%. If I'm Dillian White, I'm holding out for 30%. They owe me 5% more before I'm going to sign.
Listen, man, that's the big. This will be the biggest duck of the year in 2022. If he ducks a chance at a championship fight for $8 million, so he can get $1 million more or so, this is a duck. He's been wanting it. It's here for him. I don't want to hear another thing from Dillian White if he doesn't take this fight.
Luther, one time when you were in the studio a couple weeks ago, I forgot which fight it was. It could be the Spence Crawford fight. I think the Crawford numbers weren't that good. And you said something that made a lot of sense. Whenever Crawford comes to the table, the Spence people are going to say, what did you bring your last fight against Porter? Okay. With Tyson Fury, that trilogy with Wilder was a big deal. Hey, Dillian White, what are you bringing to the table to deserve more than $8.2 million? Am I right, Luther, or am I wrong?
I agree. I mean, listen, this is by far his biggest payday. What else do you want? An extra $1 million? Come on. This is everything on the table. It's pay-per-view, so you'll get money on the back end even.
Right.
So $8 million is what he's guaranteed. He'll get more based upon pay-per-view numbers. So no, this will be a duck move. He's scared if he doesn't take this fight. Just like he ducked Luis Ortiz and he ducked Dominic Breazeale, he'll duck Tyson Fury as well. It's disgusting if he doesn't take it.
Smoking Jim, I'm going to ask you this. When right now, like I said, Fury's getting 32, all right? He's the draw, obviously. When it was Wilder and Fury, who was the draw? Was it them as a combo was a draw, or was it one or the other that was a draw?
Fury's always the draw. Wilder,
not in the States, he's not. Not in the States, he's not. Stop the lies.
If Wilder was a minor, he couldn't draw flies.
Jim, you say all that. He sold out everywhere he's been, with or without Fury. Yeah, Fury did not sell out without Wilder.
Well, he got $8 million in this, and Dillian White's already turned down $8 million.
Listen, Wilder's in good enough shape. He can retire if he wants. But he's not going.
Well, I'm not sure if he can retire with that wife.
Jim, we're not talking about this TMZ, JMZ.
But let me just say this, Luther, and Claudio. First of all, Tyson Fury is the champ of the world, and he's the big draw, so he deserves 70%. Dillian White deserves the 30%. If I'm the commissioner of boxing, I'm stepping in and I'm saying that Dillian White got to get his 30%. That's only fair. If I'm Dillian White, I'm a man of principle. I'm not fighting for under 30%.
Listen, Jim. This is where you're wrong. Floyd Mayweather was a bigger draw than Dillian White. He took less money to fight Oscar De La Hoya.
Less than 30%? Less than 30%? That's a lie.
He took less money than he should have gotten. Yes, he did.
Not less than 30%.
I don't think it was less than 30%.
Jim, listen. Can I finish my statement? Can I reclaim my time, Jim? Listen. When you take this, sometimes you take less money.
Say that again, Luth.
Mayweather did it.
Say that again, Luth. I'm sorry.
When you beat him, you're going to go to another level. If Dillian White beats Tyson Fury, he's going to go to another level. Right now, hardly nobody knows him outside the UK.
Exactly.
He's never fought a pay-per-view before, but if you take a little less this time, the next fight you can cash in because you'll be the king.
Luther, great point. Luther, I agree with you again.
Give him no great point. Who cares? They're getting $41 million, man. That's huge.
But I think it's more.
He's known over there in the UK. Just because they don't know him in this little country, he's known all around the world.
UK is smaller than the US, Jim. You better look at a map.
Pardon me? Pardon me? That's why he's getting $8 million and Wilder only got $8 million.
Look at a map.
For the biggest fight in the States in years.
Hey, Luther, he's a boxing authority, not a geography authority.
Right, he has no idea. Jim, if I took a globe, would you be able to find the UK, Jim? Come on, man.
But I do understand. I do understand what Jim's saying. Again, there's other parts of the world, but I think Luther's on the button. If he beats right now, what is Dillian White known for, Luther? Getting stuck by Povetkin. Even though he won the fight, the rematch. I'm not saying that, but people know he was winning the fight and he got stuck. Is he going to draw? Are people going to say, oh man, Fury's fighting Dillian White. I don't think so. And now, if he beats Fury, Luther has a point. Now he's going to be elevated to another level. Now he's the heavyweight champ. Now he's going to command a few more bucks, and he'll probably get a rematch with Fury. But I think right now, if I'm his team, Luther, I take that $8.2 million and I go with Jonathan Guidry on that boat, and I watch Jonathan Guidry catch them damn shrimp. Because I just
You're
don't.
absolutely right. We never thought he would get $8 million when we talked about it. Did anybody have us getting him getting $8 million?
I did.
Nobody had him getting.
I
$8
did.
million.
Luther, let me ask you a question, and the timing is right. Tom Brady is retiring. If Tom Brady's a free agent tomorrow, he can command $30, $40 million a year. Why? Because of his history. Now, if Mason Rudolph or some other backup, if they're a free agent tomorrow, are they going to be able to command that kind of money?
Absolutely not.
No. Tyson
Absolutely
Fury
not.
beat the second best heavyweight, at one time the best heavyweight in the world, Deontay Wilder. 3 exciting fights. It wasn't this that he beat the hell out of him. He got knocked down. People like his story. People like, he's an animated guy. People like the fact that he will go down, but he'll get back up. I can go on and on about things that people like about Tyson Fury. Deontay Wilder, say what you want, Jim, but what's the big thing, Luther, about a heavyweight? Can he knock a guy out? And obviously Wilder has.
And nobody's done it better than him in the history of boxing.
It's exciting.
That's a fact, Jim.
He's exciting. What does Dillian White bring to the table, Smoking Jim?
Well, one thing, you guys are mixing apples with oranges. This ain't basketball. This ain't the NFL. This is the heavyweight championship of the world, which is the greatest title on the planet.
Yes, I'm with you.
The challenger has never gotten less than 30%. I wouldn't take a dime less than 30%. I wouldn't take a nickel less than 30%. I'm all in with Dillian White.
So you like ducking, Jim. That's what you're saying. You like the art of ducking.
No, I'm a man. I'm going to live on my feet, not on my knees.
His biggest payday. When he was looking at this fight, he wasn't thinking he was going to get $8 million.
Right.
This is much bigger than anything he thought he was going to get for this fight because people didn't think the fight was worth $41 million.
Well,
the fact that
I thought you was a religious man. What, you now pray to the golden goose? Hey,
bring that watch out, Luke.
Gold don't mean nothing to me, man.
Bring the watch out, Luke.
I can't take that $8 million with me. When I die, hey Luther,
make this fight.
Hey Luther, when I die, I can't take that $8.2 million with me, but I can stand up for the right to get my 30% that I'm due, and I'm not fighting for a penny less.
It looks like he's scared of Tyson Fury if he doesn't take this fight. Sign the contract. He's been whining and whining. He got everything he wanted and more. He didn't think he was going to get $8 million.
No, and he could win. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not saying he can't connect. I don't think he hits as big as Wilder, but who knows? But I'm with you, Luther. You want it, go win it. You're confident in that, and then after you win, then you have the.
You call the shots,
right?
Exactly.
Well, how come Tyson Fury can't take $30 million? If $1 million,
because
if $1 million either way don't matter.
Because
how come
he
can't take the
this
$30
fight
million?
listen, Jim, because
he's
this
earned it.
Fight is on pay-per-view because of Fury,
right?
Not Dillian White.
Right.
It would be shown at 4:00 in the UK. On ESPN Plus. If
right.
It was just Dillian
That's
White
why he's getting 70%. That's why he's due 70%.
He's the draw, Jim.
Because he's the draw. 70%. It's the
draw.
draw. 30% is the non-draw.
But that's not in paper. Like that's not a
Yeah,
stat.
it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Nobody, no heavyweight
not.
fighter.
Let me ask you, Luther.
No heavyweight
Luther,
championship fighter gets
Let
under
me ask you a
30%.
question, Luther. What do you think the spread was? Not the spread, but the percentage was Muhammad Ali versus Chuck Wepner, Muhammad Ali versus Leon Spinks, Muhammad Ali versus Cooper.
Wepner got 30%.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
You don't know. You weren't pocket
There
watching.
was never
Luther. When Ali
always goes to the champ and the draw.
Right.
And
When Muhammad
fought
Foreman, Frazier, Norton. Yes, I'm good.
50-50.
Well, right, whatever it was. But damn well, when he fought Spinks, who fought 6 fights.
Spinks got 30%.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
There's never been a heavyweight championship fight where a guy got less than 30%.
Well, this might be the first one then.
No, it ain't
The
gonna
point
be.
is, he doesn't take this fight. He's a duck,
And he
I
won't
don't
get
care.
another
Who
big
was the
fight.
who was the major league? Who was the black guy in Major League Baseball that fought for free agency?
Kurt Flood.
Kurt
This
Flood.
Dillian
Kurt
White is
Flood.
the
Yeah,
Kurt
but Kurt
Flood.
Flood.
He's
But
the
Luther,
Kurt Flood.
Luther, but that was a different thing. Kurt Flood was doing it for principle. Nobody should be able to tell me where I could go. Dillian White can do what he wants. He should take this.
No.
And Kurt Flood deserved more money, and he didn't like the idea. Why should I be traded to Philly without any? I don't have a point in the matter.
Say so. No
Right,
control
right,
of your career
right.
or how much you make.
Different, but that's why you're doing apples and oranges. On the, me
Exactly.
and
It
Luther
has
are right.
nothing to do with the other.
Black
Yeah.
History Month, Kurt Flood, Dillian White, stand for your principle.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the fantasy fight between two big time punchers, George Foreman, Deontay Wilder. Right back with the Pocket Watchers show. Right back. Welcome back to the Boxing Authorities with Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. All right, guys, a big-time fantasy fight that you want to talk about pay-per-view numbers. It wouldn't be a long fight, Luther Dupree Jr., but it would be a hell of a fireworks fight, and that is George Foreman, two-time heavyweight champ versus Deontay Wilder, former heavyweight champ. Let's catch some video of that. Luther, your thoughts on this fight?
Hey, listen, man. These two of the heaviest hitters in all of boxing history. Deontay Wilder, you guys know how I feel about him. A Bronx Bomber, knocks out everybody. He's put everybody he's fought on the ground at least once. But George Foreman, Big George, power for days. He had great D when he wanted it. I think, like you said, it would be a barn burner. One of the highest pay-per-view fights in history. George Foreman, I think, in the end, would be a little too much. His defense was better. I think he had more stamina, definitely more stamina than Deontay Wilder. I don't know if Wilder would be able to stand up to all that power for 10, 11 rounds. I would have to go with Big George Foreman. Power was so great, even lasted until he was in his 50s. George Foreman in a knock him, I think he would go down, but I think in the end, George Foreman KOs Deontay Wilder. Just too much power, too much skill for Big George. And I'm sorry to say it because you guys know how I feel about the legendary Deontay Wilder.
All right, Smoking Jim, Foreman Wilder.
Well, you got to realize there's, I think it's a split.
Oh,
I think that Deontay Wilder will beat the George Foreman 2.
I was going to
think-
ask that.
I think George Foreman 2 would have took it a little easy on him like he did, who's
Moore.
not Michael Moore, but the white guy, Morrison, Tommy Morrison.
Morrison.
Took
Okay,
it easy
Morrison.
on him a little. I think the George Foreman one would knock Deontay Wilder out the ring. He would beat him half to death, and then he would go out in the crowd and take his wife off of Big Baby Miller. It would be a slaughter. It would be a slaughter, man.
Well, Jim, we're not talking about a guy out of his prime. We're only talking about the prime George Foreman. You always got to take it and have these alter egos. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. We're talking about the prime.
Hey Luther, we're gonna keep a stat. How many times I mentioned Buster Douglas, Vinny Paz, or Rocky Marciano, and how many times Jim mentions Deontay Wilder's wife? What do you think?
Yeah, right. Listen, all I know is if we ever see Deontay Wilder, he better not mix me up with Smoking Jill.
There you go.
That's all I'm saying.
I think Foreman not only blows him out of the water, George Foreman 1, but George Foreman 2 blows him out of the water. It'd be a hell of a fight. It'd be a hell of a fight. But here, listen to this though, Luth. I think the difference might be in the body. Wilder's a thin guy. Okay, now he's a hell of a man. He's got recuperative powers because Tyson Fury knocked him down, and the man kept getting up and knocked Fury down after he got knocked down. So again, tons of respect for Deontay Wilder. But the one thing that we don't know is what kind of a body punch he can take, okay, against a George Foreman. But now Jim, so I got Foreman, both George Foremans. Now, you joke and you get upset with Jim when he says Cassius Clay Muhammad Ali, and I agree with Jim because they are two different fighters. George Foreman 1 and George Foreman 2. Let me ask you something, Luther. How important to you, Luther Dupree, is experience in anything?
I think it's very important. Experience is always good, but an out of prime, overweight George Foreman 2, as you guys call him, was not beaten.
But how come he was in? How come when he was George
Deontay
Foreman?
Wilder, he would have knocked him out. Now the first one, the body shots and everything, where George Foreman was in his prime, I think he beat Deontay Wilder in a slugfest. But part 2, no, I saw Vander, really go to work on George.
Vander hit him with some shots, and the man didn't move.
Yeah, and he doesn't hit as hard as Deontay Wilder.
Who?
Deontay Wilder
No, you're right.
Part 2, as you call it,
You're right.
and put that man down.
But Jim is right. There are 2 different fighters. But Jim, here's my point.
I talk about the primes. When we talk about this, we're not talking about, pretty boy versus money. We're talking
Jim's
about
right.
the prime, the best version of George Foreman. That's how I look at these fantasy fights.
Prime, not prime, but they're different
Not an
versions.
old 40-year-old man, the same age as me, fighting a prime Deontay Wilder.
But
No,
I
I'm not doing it.
I
I'm
give
looking
George
at prime.
Foreman a ton of credit, because how come Luther, when he was older and taking a big punch, now listen to me now, when he was older, the George Foreman 2, he was getting stuck by people, and I mean stuck, and in the corner, he's like this. But then when he was younger, he wasn't getting hit that much, except for Ron Lyle, and he was sitting down, he was out of breath. I think the older George Foreman 2 was not only smarter, his punches weren't as wide. Remember Muhammad said, no, he was short and crisp.
You got to look at the eras too. You got to look at the eras. Those guys that we're talking about, the greatest era as well.
But he fought in a hell of an era too. Holyfield banged him in the head, 18 unanswered shots.
The 90s weren't the 70s. Come on now. I'm not going to go there. Yes, he fought some great guys, but you compare that era, the guys he fought to the
I
guys
get
he
it.
fought in
But
the
that
70s,
it was still a good
there's
era.
no comparison to me.
Jim, am I wrong? I think, you might not agree, but I think George Foreman 2 was better than George Foreman 1.
Oh, God.
Jim, your thoughts?
Stamina-wise,
Right.
boxing style.
Yes, with the Archie Moore thing. Peekaboo.
Listening to his
Ken
trainers
Norton.
wise.
Yes.
Coach,
Yes.
Being coachable.
Yes.
Stand up in his corner.
Yes. He was a
Yeah.
slugger. You know what, Luther, will upset you. If George Foreman 2 fought Muhammad Ali, I think George Foreman 2 would have pulled it off.
Oh,
George Foreman 1 would have beat Muhammad Ali if they'd have fought again. Ali stayed away from George Foreman.
Come on, you guys are very disrespectful with that statement. Ali would have danced all over part 2.
Ali was great.
Ali would have
Foreman
did what?
wouldn't even touched him. That version, that big slow version of George Foreman wouldn't even touch Ali.
Ali would have
You all
done
need to
what?
stop. You all need to stop.
Ali would have
No.
done what? You didn't say dance, did you?
He would have danced all
He
over.
couldn't dance.
He would've schooled him,
Ali
man.
couldn't dance
He
at that
would've
age.
schooled
That's
him,
why he
man.
rope-a-dope.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why he
true.
rope-a-dope.
He did the rope-a-dope
With the
against
young
George 1
bull,
or 2.
With the young bull, yeah. He played rope-a-dope and let him punch himself out. But part 2, he would have danced all over him because that guy, didn't have that, he didn't have it. He was an older version of himself.
All right. Well,
You guys know that.
I think it'd be a great fight, and that's a great fantasy fight, but which would have been a ton of money on pay-per-view. Our popular segment, the Boxing Mailbag. You can send your questions to my website on claudiorelsano.com. And, of course, our show here, the Boxing Mailbag at yahoo.com. Continue to send those comments and great questions. This is for all 3 of us. Which 3 boxers would you like to have dinner with, past and present? Luther.
Oh, my goodness. All right, it's got to be Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Definitely would like to have that. Sugar Ray Leonard, one of my second favorite guys. And, of course, third, Sugar Ray Robinson. Man.
All right, great choice.
I'd love to have that. Those are my 3.
Smoking Jim.
Layla Ali, Layla Ali, and Layla Ali.
All right.
The wrong Ali.
I have Makabu.
Oh,
No, Muhammad Ali, without question. Rocky Marciano, without question. And Sugar Ray Leonard. Because I've had dinner with Donnie Lalonde, Vinny Paz, and all those guys. Cooney's maybe this coming year. But yeah, Ali,
Rocky Marciano.
and Sugar Ray Leonard. And then Makabu is a close 4th. All right. Okay. As always, we hope you enjoy our show as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities.